So Recovery of an MMO Junkie Episode 2 was even better than Episode 1 in my opinion. Episode 1 was a very charming and fun episode, but I really think after this episode, I have a pretty good idea of where the show's going to go. Like, I figured the two characters in this MMO were ultimately going to have some sort of a fling, and that would probably transfer over to their real life, but I really like how it's happening. As cliche, and as much as we've seen these types of stories before, where they have this kind of like fantasy love that somehow translates into the real world, they just naturally meet up with one another, I feel like it's kind of refreshing seeing a 30-year-old neat woman who willingly quit her job and is just living off of her savings until that runs dry. And I just like how opposite the male main character is compared to what you typically see. It's just kind of like a gender flip of what we typically would see with these types of shows. And this episode, off and on, just had me cracking up at some of the absurdity that was happening. Like, the episode literally kicks off with one of the characters kind of like asking our main character here, like, what she does for a living, and then ultimately they just think, oh, she's probably a university student, whereas she's thinking, like, oh, they know I'm a NEET, they know I have no life, and she's trying to, like, contemplate, like, no, I'm an elite NEET, I'm someone who's much better than that, and I think where the anime really shines is they do that typical anime face, where they really just over-exaggerate, over-emphasize a face, and just make it so absurd that it makes you want to laugh out loud, and I think it absolutely nails it. I think the art design is just spot on for this series, and it really knows how to make it silly and over-exaggerated to really land funny lines, but it also has that sweet and charming side. Like, I thought it was very interesting. Like, obviously, this is like a 1 in a million situation here, but of course in an anime it's going to happen where ultimately our main character catches a cold, she needs to go buy some medicine, and on her way to go get some medicine, the male main character ultimately elbows her in the face and takes her to a hospital, and then he kind of is all nice and sweet, and she's like thinking like, wow, this is like Prince Charming, and I'm just this old woman who no one would want to look at because I'm ugly, I have no makeup, all this other kind of BS. And I like how, even though it's so typical, we see this time and time again in stories, I think the way they handled their relationship interacting in the real world, and obviously how it's going to go forward, because they're going to go on a date, and how it's going to translate to the video game, because I'm really excited to see the interaction where they both are talking about how they went on a date, and then ultimately they realize that they went on a date with each other, and they're both gender bending their own characters. I feel like that is what we're building up to, and I can't wait to see how that's going to happen. But I think it's very interesting how their real life interactions are going to like reflect their in-game ones, but how different they are. Like, she's very embarrassed around this hot guy, this hot young guy, whereas in the game, because obviously she doesn't know it's the same person, she feels very comforted. And once she naturally understands that this guy is the same person that she has been gaming with, I think that's going to be very natural, very sweet, and very beautiful once that kind of comes full circle and she understands who exactly he is. I think just overall, they got the character interactions down to a T. Like, a lot of these kind of like video game, especially guild-focused series, it's very more so on the quest side of things. It's more about going on quests and you have some characterization here or there. But MMO Junkie is doing something completely different where it's not even really focusing on the action or like the in-game quests. Obviously they could going forward, but currently it's just more of these personal stories, and I think that's what sets it apart from a lot of game-focused series, because it's not really focusing on the game, rather they're just using the game as a pretty aesthetic, where really everything comes down to the character interactions and the guild interactions, which makes this very, very fun. I think just overall, this knows exactly what it wants to be, and I think it's excelling at it, to be honest. I think the voice acting is sweet, it's just charming, it just knows how to be overly funny when it wants to, the voice acting on top of the art and animation. This has been a fun show. Like, it's sad it's only going to be, I think it's 11 episodes, so it's a little sad to cut short, but still, I've been having a blast with this show. Very excited to see how this is going to go, and I'm actually kind of impressed that the relationship is interacting in the real world faster than I would have expected. Like, I thought it'd be a few episodes before they truly kind of like meet and kind of have interactions outside of the game, but I'm pretty impressed by the pacing of this series so far. Very excited to see where it's going to go, but let me know your thoughts. What do you think of episode 2? And are you like me? Are you like really enjoying this? Or do you find this a little lackluster for yourself? Let me know. Before you leave, smack that like button, share your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.